So Undertale has been on my radar for some time. It's free on PS Plus now, and the platinum only takes about 5 hours, allegedly. So I decided it was finally time to bite the bullet and give it a go. Now, if you're familiar with Undertale, you know there are many ways you can play this game. I'm going for a full pacifist run. I wanted to do something a bit different than just, killing everything in sight like most JRPG style games, and the act command looked kind of cool. So I booted up a new game, called myself Kupo because why not, and met Flowey, where I avoided the friendliness petals just to see what would happen, because I think everyone's seen the start of Undertale and you know what usually happens, right? I meet Toriel, she makes life a bit too easy for me, and I get my first trophy of the game.
First trophy of the run, Ruins for entering the ruins. Seems simple enough.
After that, I solve this fiendishly difficult puzzle, and I get the cell phone as a reward, but I've got to say, the constant calls really got annoying really quickly.
Alright, let's take a candy. Don't worry, I have lots of ideas for trophies. Get an item.
Finally, I do get to do some actual puzzles on my own. They're not difficult, really, just tedious. Falling down holes and then climbing up the pipe just to fall down the hole again isn't exactly what I would call fun. But I do get my second trophy for reaching the first mouse hole of the game and the start of a recurring joke with this piece of cheese.
Alright, mouse for reaching the mouse hole in the ruins, which I assume is this.
I then cheer up the first real boss of the game and get the pacifist run off for real. I also buy this spider donuts. That's pretty important for later on.
These some G in the web? Yes. Like getting items for getting 2 items. Let's go. Or getting more items for getting 3 items. Come on. Help me, I'm out of ideas for getting 4 items. That's all the item-related trophies out the way.
I make it to the ruins at last and make it clear to Toriel that despite her best intentions, I'm not going to hang around. Toriel does try and stop me, but I'm not really interested in playing her games and just spam the spare button and dodge her attacks to make her see sense, and I can make my way out. I get to the next area, Snowden Forest, and get introduced to Sans and Papyrus, the 2 skeleton brothers, and in the process get my third trophy of the game.
Exodus for arriving at Snowden. Pretty easy. They're all easy.
After some dogfights and some puzzles, I also get the 4th trophy of the game pretty much straight after.
And we get the mana trophy for getting to the spaghetti save point.
I get into the next boss fight against 2 dogs and I get my first game over. I'm actually kind of embarrassed that I got one this early. I thought the game was going to be a lot easier, but I just don't have the manual dexterity, it seems. I'm going to have to get very good at this very quickly. I do eventually outsmart the 2 dogs for the win, and after more puzzles, including this particular brain teaser that really hurt my noggin, as well as more dogfights, I finally make it to Snowden itself. After exploring the town, it's time to take on Papyrus, but before I talk about that, you see these igloos here? I didn't realise that they were fast travel points, and I really should have, and I wasted a lot of time just walking around for no real reason. Anyway, back to Papyrus, and I thought again this would be really easy, but I just kept on getting killed over and over again and getting locked up in his cell, which, as we all know, is far too easy to escape from. The fun thing about this Papyrus fight is that if you lose it 3 times, he will eventually give you the option to skip, but I didn't want to. I wanted to win, but I also didn't want to use any healing items because they're just a waste of money knowing that you can just skip the battle. Eventually though, I do just give up on defeating him because honestly I got really bored and I just move on with the plot. I go to his house, find the dog shrine and start donating to get the first dog shrine trophy.
Donation level 1 for donating 2G to the dog shrine. I'll be at this for a while.
But then I realise I don't have 350 gold to do all the trophies, and I'm going to come back to this later. After the date and the harrowing rejection, I choose to move on with life, and I get the next story related trophy for reaching the halfway point.
Midpoint. Arrive at the waterfall. I'm guessing we're halfway there.
Since we've reached the halfway point, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. New Platinum videos out every Monday and Thursday. Enough self-promotion, back to the story. I make my way to Waterfall where the puzzles are still easy, but I take much longer than I should have. I also meet Undyne for the first time, nearly died to her spears, solve a music puzzle, but instead of getting a legendary artifact, I get dog poo. Thanks. Anyway, I carry on and I get another trophy.
And we got to rain for reaching the place where it rains. Genius.
Undyne attacks again, and this time it actually starts off super well. There's a maze and you sort of can run into dead ends, but it's actually going pretty well for me. But things do get dicey as I start forgetting to dodge. Eventually though, without using any healing items, I make it through relatively unscathed. As a result though, I do end up falling into this trash heap and fight against this dummy, and I actually get a game over the first time I fight it. I'm beginning to sort of lag at this point, so I simply choose to grab lunch, go again, and I get it right on the second try. Now remember, for the dog shrine I do need to grind 350 gold, so I check out the snail racing. However, I do find it incredibly tedious and I decide to do a different method later on instead. And by later on, I mean right now. I start my money grind by going to Gerson's and buying the cloud glasses for 30 gold. I make my way through the dark maze and I head to Temi village where I sell them for 50 gold. Then I make my way all the way back to Gerson's, buy lots of cloud glasses for 30 gold each, go back to Temi village and sell them for 50 gold each, rinse and repeat. You get the idea. This achieves two things for me. The first thing I do is say thank you to this Temi by paying for their college education to unlock the ultimate armor in the shop, which gets cheaper the more you die. It starts off at 9999 I think, and it can go all the way to like 500, 700. I'm not entirely sure. But it's at 7,000 gold at this point and it's far too expensive. So I just do the other thing instead, which is simply grind to just over 400 gold for the dog shrine trophies. I finally fight Undyne for real, but I forgot to bring healing items and I only have one as a result. I do end up game overing multiple times, but this definitely feels winnable to me, so I keep at it. I do, however, eventually succeed, and I feel really good about this. I'm not the best at sort of having manual dexterity, as we all know, and reacting to the arrows and the golden arrows and what have you, but I felt really good after, even if I don't show it. After the Undyne fight, I do give Undyne some water from the water cooler. This is really important if you want the pacifist ending. Another reward for completing the Undyne fight is that we can now use the ferry. I go all the way back to Snowden and grind the dog shrine by literally inserting 1 gold at a time for 350 gold. You can get multiple trophies by continuously donating this 1 gold and just spamming X and circle over and over again and going out of the room and coming back in every time you pop a trophy.
Okay, finally Dog Nation level 15 donated 350 G to the dog shrine. That's all I need to do.
It's time to do the Undyne date, because obviously Papyrus thinks that Undyne cannot be friends with you and therefore Undyne has to take the challenge. Interesting friendship time, for sure. I'm not sure chucking spears at people you want to be friendly with is the way to go, but hey, whatever floats your boat. It's time to move on with the story, and we meet Alphys, by far the most annoying character in the entire game for the first time. She is really useful at first though, because we can defeat Metatron's quiz thanks to her cheating. As a result, we get both the best and the worst feature in the game. The best is the dimensional boxes that let you store even more items on the go, and the worst is the social media updates. They're not endearing, they are just tedious, and they just constantly interrupt you. It's so annoying, I don't see why people like this bit. Anyway, rant over, another trophy pops.
Okay, final stretch for entering Hotland. We are nearly there.
I arrive in Hotland and a few launch pads, lasers, lackeys and ludicrously easy puzzles later, we're on TV again.
Ainsley Harriot's got nothing on this.
After surviving Hell's Kitchen, it's time to head up the elevator.
And we get final stretch 2 for reaching the second floor of Hotland.
Nothing much to see here other than we help 2 royal guards hook up with each other, and we're also on the news reporting and being the news as I run around and defuse some bombs within 2 minutes. This was actually really interesting and I very nearly failed this, but I did eventually do it on the first try. Nevertheless, it was time to take the elevator up again.
Final stretch level 3 for reaching Hotland level 3. I think at this point I only have 2 trophies to go. That is correct.
After going over some steam pads and some stimulating puzzles, it's time to take on Muffet. Remember that spider donut we bought way at the beginning of the game? Well, we easily win this battle peacefully by eating the spider donut in this fight, and Muffet's like, oh, maybe you don't hate spiders after all, which is good to know. Metatron continues to be ridiculous, but Alphys transforms our soul, you know, that red heart thing, and the fight is a doddle as a result. There's a bit of a break in the action as we have dinner with Sans, who reveals that he would have killed us ages ago if he wasn't so sentimental. Thank you, woman on the other side of the door. After that, it's time to head into the core branch, the final area, and the enemies are starting to get really challenging. Remember, we are doing a pacifist playthrough, which means we're getting no EXP. No EXP means we're getting no LV or love. We're always at 1, which means that our stats are constantly terrible. Alphys is supposed to be helping us out, but she keeps getting it wrong. Again, I'm sure it's meant to be endearing or funny or whatever, but honestly, it's just irritating at this point. After running around like a headless chicken and getting through the final battles, I finally get to the end of the core branch and the final trophy pops.
Good luck! Reach the second save point in the core. That would be this one. And don't you have anything better to do to obtain all other Undertale trophies? And that is the platinum for Undertale. And, well, I will get to the end, but how do you keep a YouTube viewer in suspense? Well,